When people see a law that's unfair and in some kind of unity say, we're not having this, we're not doing this, we're not accepting this, this is fascism. Where's the power? If someone comes out of the White House or Downing Street and they say, well, we've had a discussion and we've decided we're going to do this. If enough people say, no, we're not, where's their power? They have no power. Their power is in people saying, oh, bloody another fascist law, look, what can you do though? One of the reasons that the poll tax law had to be changed in the time of Margaret Thatcher is because for once the effect of it went across income brackets and classes. So middle class people were affected by it as well as working class people. And therefore we had some kind of unity in resisting it. What happened? They had to change it. This is what we need to do, is stop being divided and ruled on the basis of class and religion and colour and all this crap, and start some kind of unity. Because we can either accept Big Brother, or we can say we're not having it. And if we don't come together and say we're not having it, then I'm 56. I think I said earlier. What have I got? 10 years left, 20 if I'm lucky? But the people in this room, most of them, you're going to have to live most of your lives under this stuff. My grandchildren are. My children are. And it's no good looking back when all these structures of control are in place and saying, I wish I'd have done something then. One of the things we can do is stop bloody joining the sodding army for a start. Albert Einstein said, the pioneers of a warless world are the youth who refuse military service. It's the guys that declare wars never fight them. Have you noticed that? If George Bush had been on the front line in Iraq when the first bullet was fired, he'd been under a bed in Houston when the second bugger went off. Oh no, we declare wars, you go and fight them. But more than anything, we need to free our minds, because it's through our minds that this control, this acquiescence, this herd mentality that allows this to happen is unfolding. It's an interesting question. Who's deciding what's happening in our heads all the time? Who's deciding what we think we're deciding? When we're constantly programmed, constantly hypnotized to see the world in a certain way and to see ourselves in a certain way. Even from the earliest ages it starts. The programming of reality and the microchip. I'll tell you a quick story about microchips. In 1997, I got a call from someone I know asking if I would meet a CIA scientist in America, because he wanted to tell me things that he wanted to get out into the public domain, but he couldn't do it for reasons that became obvious. So I met him, and he told me the story of how he joined the CIA. He's a cutting-edge scientist, apparently, in the area of magnetics. And he thought he was serving his country. Down the bottom of the pyramid, I'm serving my country. He soon realized that the agenda that I'm talking about is actually happening and being orchestrated behind the scenes. And he rebelled and said, I'm not working for you anymore. He then leaves his house, and then shortly afterwards has complete missing time, until he woke up on a medical type bench in a room, and as he got his faculties back, he started to realize there's something stuck to his chest. And as he was telling me this story, he was opening his shirt, and on his chest was this see-through, almost like a shampoo sachet, I suppose you could call it, and inside was this orangey golden liquid. They're known in the CIA as patches. Someone's been patched. And he told me that what they do is the drug in this patch, the body is manipulated to need to survive. And it lasts for 72 hours and has to be replaced. And if it's not replaced, you start to die a very unpleasant death. And he tried it after he was patched, and he's sure they weren't kidding. And what he was told is, you work for us, or we remove the patch. And he said there are endless numbers of scientists in the really secret projects in America, I guess elsewhere too, who are patched for this reason. And so he was trying to get out what was happening because he couldn't. And what he told me was, tell people if they say no to one thing, say no to the microchip. Because he said even people who have begun to wake up to what's going on are seeing the microchip as just electronic tagging. It is not. That is only part of it, knowing where people are all the time, as with that example earlier. The main thrust and the main reason for microchipping, he said, is not the messages going from the chip to the computer, it's the messages coming the other way. And he said that through this process, and he told me then that microchips outside the public arena were so small people wouldn't believe it. Well, we're now seeing that that's true, all these years later. He said that from a microchipped person, from a microchip in a person, they can manipulate them mentally, emotionally, and physically from a distance through the chip. And that's the idea, to get inside the body computer, if you like, and externally manipulate its thought and emotional processes and its physical state. The Matrix movies I found very interesting. There were lots of very good symbolism in there, where the Neo character is told by the Morpheus character that he's a slave and that he needs to recognize he's a slave. And that's the first step to freedom. The first step to freedom within this gathering Orwellian world is to realize that we are in a gathering Orwellian world. Because once that realization comes, then we start to see the bars. We're no longer sitting in a cell without bars thinking we're free. We can start to see the bars. Once you see the bars, you can start to think, well, what do I do about it? And then the next thing, that we want to be free. That we don't want to be sheep anymore. That we want to take our minds back. That we want to have our own opinions and our own views, and not those that are bombarded at us daily through education and through the media and all the other sources of so-called information. And then there's the transformation, where you open your mind and break the spell that so many people are under, the hypnotic spell of seeing the world in a certain way. And when you realize, or you start to transform, you realize a staggering fact, which the cutting edge of science is now beginning even to identify, that this world we think is physical is an illusion. It's an illusion. There is no out there in terms of physical things that we perceive out there. What is out there are just frequency fields which we are decoding into a holographic reality that only exists in our minds.